The last class that I attended was the verses 5 we attended. So
5, huh? Okay. Let's go to 5. यदद्वैतं ब्रह्मोपनिषदि तदपि अस्य तनुभा
यदद्वैत्यं ब्रह्मोपनिषत् तत् अपि अस्य तनुभव
य आत्मान्तर्यामि पुरुषा इति सोऽस्यां स विभवः
या आत्मा या यमि पुरुषाति सोष्यांस विभवा
सदैश्वर्यैः पूर्णो य इह भगवान् स स्वयमयम्
सदैश्वर्यस्य पुनर्वो यहि यः भगवान् स सवयम् इयाम्
न चैतन्यात् कृष्णात् जगति परतत्त्वं परमिह
न चैतन्यात् कृष्णच् जगति परतत्त्वं पराम् इहा.
So, what the Upanishads describe as the impersonal Brahman is but the effulgence of his body. And the Lord, known as Supersoul, is but his localized plenary portion. Lord Chaitanya is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna himself, full with 6 opulences. He is the absolute truth, and no other truth is greater than or equal to him. So, you want to read this purport?
Sure. The compilers of the Upanishad speaks very highly of the impersonal Brahman. The Upanishads, which are considered the most elevated portion of the Vedic literatures, are meant for persons who desires to get free from material association and who therefore approach a bona fide spiritual master for enlightenment. The prefix upa indicates that one must receive knowledge about the absolute truth from a spiritual master. One who has faith in his spiritual master actually receives transcendental instruction, and as his attachment for material life slackens, he is able to advance on the spiritual path. Knowledge of the transcendental science of the Upanishads can free one from the entanglement of existence in the material world, and when thus liberated, one can be elevated to the spiritual kingdom of the Supreme Personality of Godhead by advancement in spiritual life. The beginning of spiritual enlightenment is realization of impersonal Brahman. Such realization is effected by gradual negation of material variegatedness. Impersonal Brahman realization is the partial, distant experience of the absolute truth that one achieves through the rational approach. It is compared to one's seeing a hill from the distance and talking it to be a smoky cloud. A hill is not a smoky cloud, but it appears to be one from a distance because of its imperfect vision. In imperfect or smoky realization of the absolute truth, spiritual variegatedness is conspicuous by its absence. This experience is therefore called Advaita Vada, or realization of the oneness of the absolute. The impersonal glowing effulgence of Brahman consists only of the personal bodily ray of the Supreme Godhead, Sri Krishna. Since Sri Guru Sundara or Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is identical with Sri Krishna himself, the Brahman effulgence consists of the rays of his transcendental body. Similarly, the super soul, which is called the Paramatma, is a planetary representation of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The Antaryami, the super soul in everyone's heart, is the controller of all living entity. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 15.15, wherein Lord Krishna says, Sarvasya Cham Riti Sannivista. I am situated in everyone's heart. The Bhagavad Gita 5.29 also states, Bhokharam Yajna Tapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram, indicating that the Supreme Lord, acting in his expansion as the super soul, is the proprietor of everything. Similarly, the Brahma Samhita 5.5 states, Andantra Stha Paramanu Chayantra Stham. The Lord is present everywhere, within the heart of every living entity, and within each and every atom as well. Thus, by this super soul feature, the Lord is all pervading. Furthermore, Lord Chaitanya is also the master of all wealth, strength, fame, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation, because he is Sri Krishna himself. He is described as Purna, Purna or complete. In the feature of Lord Chaitanya, the Lord is an ideal renouncer. Just as Sri Rama was an ideal king, Lord Chaitanya accepted the order of sannyasa and exemplified exceedingly wonderful principles in his own life. No one can compare to him in the order of sannyasa. Although in Kali Yuga, acceptance of the sannyasa order is generally forbidden, Lord Chaitanya accepted it because he is complete in renunciation. Others cannot imitate him, but he can only follow in his footstep as far as possible. Those who are unfit for this order of life are strictly prohibited by the injunction of the Shastras to accept it. Lord Chaitanya, however, is complete in renunciation as well as all other opulences. He is therefore the highest principle of the absolute truth. By an analytical study of the truth of Lord Chaitanya, one will find that he is not different from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. No one is greater than or equal to him. In the Bhagavad Gita 7.7, Lord Krishna says to Arjuna, Matha Parataram Nanyat Kinchit Asti Dhananjaya. O conqueror of wealth, Arjuna, there is no truth superior to me. Thus, it is here confirmed that there is no truth higher than Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya. The impersonal Brahman is the goal of those who cultivate the study of book of transcendental knowledge, and the super soul is the goal of those who perform the yoga practices. One who knows the Supreme Personality of Godhead surpasses realization of both Brahman and Paramatma, because Bhagavan is the ultimate platform of absolute knowledge. The personality of Godhead is the complete form of Sachit Ananda, full life, knowledge, and bliss. By realization of that such portion of the complete whole, unlimited existence, one realizes the impersonal Brahman aspects of the Lord. By realization of the Chit portion of the complete whole, unlimited knowledge, one can realize the localized aspect of the Lord, the Paramatma. But neither of these partial realizations of the complete whole can help one realize Ananda, or complete bliss. Without such realization of Ananda, knowledge of the absolute truth is incomplete. This verse of the Chaitanya Charitamrita by Krishnadasa Kaviraja Goswami is confirmed by a parallel statement in the Tattva Sandarbha by Srila Jiva Goswami. In the 8th part of the Tattva Sandarbha, it is said that the absolute truth is sometimes approached as impersonal Brahman, which, although spiritual, is only a partial representation of the absolute truth. Narayana, the predominating deity in Vaikuntha, is to be known as an expansion of Sri Krishna. But Sri Krishna is the supreme absolute truth, the object of the transcendental love of all living entities.
Thank you for reading that. This is a very long purport. Essentially, what Srila Prabhupada is saying is, because he is Sri Krishna himself, he is the master of wealth, strength, fame, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation. Aishwaryasya samagrasya virasya yasho shriyo vairagyam chaiva. That is what Parasaramuni talks about Lord Krishna, these 6 qualities. And Srila Prabhupada reinforces the point that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is an incarnation of Krishna. Therefore, he is Sri Krishna himself. And he is Purna. Lord Chaitanya accepted the order of sannyasa. And when he accepted order, nobody can even compare to him in the order of sannyasa. In Kali Yuga, acceptance of sannyasa is generally forbidden unless, of course, you preach the glories of Lord. So typically, people in the modern times, they just take sannyas, just wear saffron clothes, and then continue all kinds of materialistic activities. So that's why in Kali Yuga, it is said that sannyasa is generally forbidden. And Lord Chaitanya, his sannyasa is very different. He is complete in renunciation. Sannyasa means renouncing everything. Very difficult to do. Very difficult to do. So he's saying that by analytical study, we find that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is non-different than Krishna. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Mattah parataram nanyat kinchid asti dhananjaya. There is nothing superior to me. So therefore, there is nothing superior to Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya. So Srila Prabhupada is basically reinforcing and emphasizing that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is none other than Lord Krishna. And of course, the Supreme Lord has Sachidananda form, like full of eternity or life, knowledge, and bliss. This is Sat, Chit, and Ananda. So initially, we recognize the impersonal Brahman aspect, like God is everywhere. Then we realize that is the Sat aspect. Then the Chit portion, unlimited knowledge. One can understand by Chit portion the localized aspect of Lord or Paramatma. So Sat leads to Brahman realization, Chit leads to Paramatma realization, and Ananda leads to the complete understanding of the absolute truth. So what Prabhupada is doing is he's equating the Satchidananda concept with the Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagwan concept. Right? So Sat leads to Brahman, Chit leads to Paramatma, and Ananda leads to Bhagwan. So he's also saying that this verse is also there in Tattva Sandarbha by Jiva Goswami. Jiva Goswami was a direct disciple of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, as we learned in first chapter, he comes a few rungs down the road. But again, he also has, more or less direct connection with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So another point is impersonal Brahman is only partial representation of absolute truth. A lot of people say Brahman Okates, right? Like this, they say Brahman is everything. But the key point is Brahman is just a portion or partial representation of absolute truth, Param Satyam. which is Krishna. So Brahman cannot be complete. Brahman is just one aspect. It's just the energy of the Lord that radiates from him. So energy of Krishna as well as energy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Narayana is also an expansion of Sri Krishna. However, Sri Krishna is the supreme absolute truth. Means he is the Param Satyam in the spiritual world. Brahma Atma Bhagavan Anuvadati Nam
Brahma Bhagavan Anuvatati na
Anga Prabha Amsa Swarupatina Vedya Chinam.
Anga Prabha Amsa Swarupa Tina Vidhiye China.
Personal Brahman, the localized Paramatma, and personality of Godhead are three subjects. And the growing effulgence, the partial manifestation, and the original form are their respective predicates. In English language, you call it, right, object and predicate, like that. He's using that, pure English here. So this we have talked about it in Bhagavad Gita. We talked about it in Srimad Bhagavatam. And now we are talking about it in Chaitanya Charitamrita as well. There are always three aspects. Brahman, all-pervading nature, means God is everywhere concept. Paramatma, God is localized in your heart concept. And personality of Godhead, God is a person in the spiritual world. These are the three subjects. That's it. Nothing new is being said here. This has been the theme across many scriptures. However, people, right, the Brahmavadis will fight with the Paramatmavadis, the yogis, and the yogis will fight with the bhaktas. They'll say, my path is superior, but that is not accepted by scriptures, right? Are three subjects. There's the three aspects of God. Doesn't mean one is superior or inferior, one is incomplete. Brahman concept is incomplete. Paramatma concept is little more complete. Bhagavan concept is fully complete. And same theme throughout all scriptures. अनुवाद आगे पाचे विदेह स्थापनाम से अर्थ का ही सुना शास्त्र विवरण A predicate always follows its subject, right? This is again, he's talking about how we learn grammar, right? In English language, we say predicate always follows its subject, right? Like John is sleeping. So what is John doing? He's sleeping. But who is John? John is the subject. So predicate sleeping always follows the subject. You don't say sleeping is John. You say John is sleeping. All right. Now he's explaining that meaning in the next verse. Swayam Bhagavan Krishna Vishnu Paratattva Purna Jnana Purnananda Parama Mahatva. Krishna, the original form of personality of Godhead, is the summum bonum of all pervading Vishnu. Summum bonum is an English term, means complete. So you can say complete, or you can use the Latin term of summum bonum. So Krishna is the complete of Vishnu. So Vishnu is a subset, Krishna is the superset. If you know set theory, subset means something that is local, and superset means something that encompasses the subset. He is all perfect knowledge and all perfect bliss, means all perfect Satchidananda. He is the supreme transcendence. So it's just like, they're unpacking the information here in this verse, giving more detail. Nandasuta baliyan re bhagavate gai.
Nandasuta baliyana re bhagavat gai.
Se Krishna avatirna Chaitanya Gosani.
Sri Krishna Avatari Jirana Chaitanya Goswami.
He whom Srimad Bhagavatam describes as son of Nanda Maharaj has descended to earth as Lord Chaitanya. So again, the same theme is continuing to prove that Lord Chaitanya is the incarnation of Lord Krishna. Actually, he is more than Lord Krishna because he is Radha and Krishna put together in one body. Radha Krishna ek tanu hai. Radha and Krishna are in one body. According to rules of rhetorical arrangement for efficient composition in literature, a subject should be mentioned before its predicate. Again, the grammatical rules are getting discussed. Okay, Shiva, please read this. Purport.
Hare Krishna. According to the rules of rhetorical arrangement for efficient composition in literature, a subject should be mentioned before its predicate. Right. The Vedic literature frequently mentions Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. And therefore, these three terms are widely known as the subjects of transcendental understanding. But it is not widely known that what is approached as the impersonal Brahman is the effulgence of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's transcendental body. Nor is it widely known that the super soul or Paramatma is only a partial representation of Lord Chaitanya, who is identical with Bhagavan himself. Therefore, the descriptions of Brahman as the effulgence of Lord Chaitanya, the Paramatma as his partial representation, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna as identical with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu must be verified by evidence from authoritative Vedic literatures. The author wants to establish first that the essence of the Vedas is the Vishnu Tattva, the absolute truth. Vishnu, the all-pervading Godhead. The Vishnu Tattva has different categories, of which the highest is Lord Krishna, the ultimate Vishnu Tattva as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita and throughout the Vedic literature. In Srimad Bhagavatam, the same Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna is described as Nanda Suta, the son of King Nanda. Krishnadasa Kaviraja Goswami says that Nanda Suta has again appeared as Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he bases his statement on his understanding that the Vedic literature concludes there is no difference between Lord Krishna and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Okay. This is the author will prove. This the author will prove. If it is thus proved that Sri Krishna is the origin of all tattvas, truths, namely Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan, and that there is no difference between Sri Krishna and Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it will not be difficult to understand that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is also the same origin of all tattvas. The same absolute truth as he is revealed to students of different realizations is called Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan.
Yeah, so this should not come as a surprise to you because we have been discussing this in our Bhagavad Gita class also. So there is nothing that comes as a surprise. Like if you look at these different aspects, right? We said Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan. So these are the three attributes of Vishnu Tattva, we said. Right? So if you talk about these three being the three attributes of Vishnu Tattva, and since Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is an incarnation of Krishna or Swayam Krishna himself, with of course Radha Rani's internal, his internal potency, Radha Rani also follows him. So since this is Krishna, basically using common logic, if you say that now Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna's form, for the Kali Yuga, then these three things should have, these three qualities should be there in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also. Right? So this is like common logic. So therefore, Brahman, Bhagwan and Paramatma, or Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagwan are there. So Brahman, Bhagwan and Paramatma are also there for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That's it. That's all is being said here. प्रकाश विशेष तेन धारे तीन नाम
प्रकाश विशेषतेन धारयति न नाम
ब्रह्म परमात्मा आर स्वयं भगवान. So again, it is being reinforced here in terms of various manifestations. He is known in three features: the impersonal Brahman, the localized Paramatma, the original personality of Godhead. Okay, so here is some commentary by Jiva Goswami. Maybe Manoranjan, you can read this.
Are you asking me? Srila Jiva Goswami has explained the word Bhagavan is in his Bhagavad Sandarbha, the personality of God being full of all conceivable and inconceivable potencies, is the absolute supreme whole. Impersonal Brahman is a partial manifestation of the absolute truth realized in the absence of such complete potencies. The first syllable of the word Bhagavan is Ba, which means sustainer and protector. The next letter, Ga, means leader, person and creator. Ra means dwelling. All living beings dwell in the Supreme Lord, and the Supreme Lord dwells within the heart of every living being. Combining all these concepts, the word Bhagavan carries the import of the inconceivable potency in knowledge, energy, strength, opulence, power, and influence, devoid of all varieties of inferiority. Without such inconceivable potencies, one cannot fully sustain or protect our modern civilization. Is sustained by scientific arrangements devised by many great scientific brains.
We can just imagine, therefore, the gigantic brain whose arrangements sustain the gravity of the unlimited number of planets and satellites, and who creates the unlimited space in which they float. If one considers the intelligence needed to orbit man-made satellites, one cannot be fooled into thinking that there is not a gigantic intelligence responsible for the arrangements of the various planetary systems. There is no reason to believe that all the gigantic planets float in space without the superior arrangement of a superior intelligence. This subject is clearly dealt with in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15, text 13, where the personality of Godhead says, I enter into each planet and by my energy they stay in orbit. Were the planets not held in the grip of the personality of Godhead, they would all scatter like dust in the air. Modern scientists can only impractically explain this inconceivable strength of the personality of Godhead.
The potencies of the syllables Ba, Ga, and Va apply in terms of many different meanings. Through his different potent agents, the Lord protects and sustains everything, but he himself personally protects and sustains only his devotees, just as a king personally sustains and and protects his own children while infusing
and trusting
entrusting the protection and sustenance of the state to various
administrative
administrative agents. The Lord is the leader of his devotees, as we learn from the Bhagavad Gita, which mentions that the personality of God instructs personally instructs his loving devotees how to make certain progress on the path of devotion and thus surely approach the kingdom of God. The Lord is also the recipient of all the adoration offered by his devotees, for whom he is objective and the goal. For his devotees, the Lord creates a favorable condition for developing a sense of transcendental love of God. For it, sometimes he does this by taking away a devotee's material attachments by force and baffling and his material protective reasons. For thus, the devotee must completely depend on the Lord's protection. In this way, the Lord proves himself the leader of his devotees.
The Lord is not directly attached to the creation, maintenance, and destruction of the material world, for he is eternally busy in the enjoyment of transcendental bliss with paraphernalia composed of his internal potencies. Yet, as the initiator of the material energy as well as the marginal potency, the living beings, he expands himself as the Purusha avatars who are invested with potencies similar to his. The Purusha avatars are also in the category of Bhagavad Tattva because each and every one of them is identical with the original form of the personality of Godhead. The living entities are infinitesimal particles and are qualitatively one with him. They are sent into this material world for material enjoyment to fulfill their desires to be independent individuals. But still they are subject to the supreme will of the Lord. The Lord deputes himself in the state of super soul to supervise the arrangements of such material enjoyment. The example of a temporary fair is quite appropriate in this connection. If the citizens of a state assemble in a fair to enjoy for a short period, the government deputes a special officer to supervise it. Such an officer is invested with all governmental power and therefore he is identical with the government. When the fair is over, there is no need for such an officer and he returns home. The Paramatma is compared to such an officer. The living beings are not all in all. They are undoubtedly parts of the Supreme Lord and are qualitatively one with him, yet they are subject to his control. Thus, they are never equal to the Lord or one with him. The Lord who associates with the living being is the Paramatma or Supreme Living Being. No one therefore should view the charming living beings and Supreme Living Being to be on equal level. The all-pervading truth that exists eternally during the creation, maintenance, and annihilation of the natural world and influence the living beings rest in trances from the impersonal Brahman.
Yeah, so this is again a deep dive of Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. So when the pralaya occurs, creation, maintenance, and annihilation or destruction of material world, right? At the point of annihilation, living beings will rest in the impersonal Brahman. So here they say the living beings rest in impersonal Brahman, but elsewhere in Chaitanya Charitamrita it is said that they go back into body of Karnodakshai. No, I don't think Karnodakshai. It is Garbhodakshai Mahavishnu. So they go into Garbhodakshai Mahavishnu's body, and at the start of the new millennium, again they come out. So two different aspects have been discussed here in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So there is some nice, this is called breaking down the syllables, right? Bhagavan, Bha means sustainer, protector, Ga leader, and Va is dwelling. So we live within the body of the Lord. So the body of the Lord, at some point it is mentioned as Brahman, and at some points it is mentioned as the Garbhodakshai Vishnu. So what is this breakdown? Let's do the breakdown. Bhagavan. So what is Bhagavan? Bha is sustainer and protector, right? Ga means leader, pusher and creator, and Van means dwelling. Living beings dwell in the Supreme Lord, and Supreme Lord dwells within the heart of every living being. So we are in the Lord's body, and at the same time as Paramatma, he comes and joins us in the heart of every living being. So those are the three different things in terms of the meaning of Bhagavan. Bha is sustainer, protector. Gha is leader or pusher or creator. Va is dwelling. Living beings dwell in the Supreme Lord. So this is the breakdown of that particular word. And again, he talks about the thing that he talked about in the last verse: knowledge, energy, strength, opulence, power, influence. This is the Aishvaryasya, Virasya, Samagrasya, Yashasya, Sriyo, like that, and Vairagyasya. So this is the key point. Without inconceivable potencies, one cannot fully sustain or protect. So Lord is protecting us means what? He has those inconceivable potencies. Without these inconceivable potencies, he cannot sustain or protect. So there is a gigantic brain whose arrangements sustain the gravity of unlimited number of planets and satellites. Right? We talk about, oh, Earth is there, Moon is there, all these are floating by gravity. There are unlimited number of planets. How are they all floating? So because of this gigantic brain called Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he creates the unlimited space in which they float. So just like man-made satellites are orbiting, right? So there has to be some brain. Similarly, for all these natural satellites, there has to be a super brain, gigantic brain, who is running this show. So people say there is no God, right? Then how are all these planets floating? This is the argument you can give to people if somebody says. And Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 15:13, I enter into each planet and by my energy they stay in the orbit. How are they staying in orbit? They are not randomly falling off, right? Have you ever seen Earth fall off its orbit, Sun fall off its orbit? No. So Krishna says, Gamavishya cha bhutani dharayami aham ojasa Usnami chaushadha sarvaha somo bhutva rasatmakaha. I enter into each planet by my energy, they stay in orbit. See that? So Krishna gives the energy, like the scientists say, this is the balance of the centrifugal force and the centripetal force, right? You read all this in seventh class, 8th class physics. Centrifugal force and centripetal force. But whose energy is causing these forces? That is the question. The force will not automatically happen, right? Randomly. Just, oh, there's just force there. So there has to be some source. So Krishna says it's my energy that these things will stay in orbit. Otherwise, they would scatter like dust in air. So, the planets are not running away from each other, right? They're always tightly coupled with their ecosystem. Why? That is because of Krishna's energy. He says, my energy, very clearly. Nobody can boldly say it is my energy, right? Maybe you have energy to lift a dumbbell or do some push-ups. But Krishna's energy, he can maintain this planet staying in the orbit. That is how this gigantic brain works. So then we come to leader of devotees, Ga. Right? What does he say? Godhead personally instructs his loving devotees to make certain progress on the path of devotion. Right? So the way you make progress is not because you are making progress. The Lord is allowing you to make progress. Get the point? The Lord is allowing you to make progress. Otherwise, He will not. And then this is a very good point. The Lord takes away devotees' material attachments by force. So what will happen? Suddenly your business will collapse. Something will happen to your job. Why? By taking away all the material protective agents, then the devotee must completely depend on Lord's protection. Right? So when I was in Miami, I was talking to one pujari. He said he had sports cars. He had $3 million portfolio total. Right? So then he said, Krishna somehow took it away. There was some kind of lawsuit, something happened, this, that. He lost all his property and now he's living in a rented house. I even went to his rented house. I actually gave him a ride from temple to his rented house. He lost his car also. So practically, he relies on other people to drop him or pick him up from his home to temple to do his services. He doesn't have any other facility. And he said that he had sports cars, he had $3 million portfolio, everything vanished. So this is what the Lord does. He sometimes, not all the time, he does by taking away devotees' material attachments by force and baffling all his material protective agents. So that's why you will see, in general, I have seen like so many people in our temple here in Seattle, they lost jobs. Some of them lost their homes. Some of them were like forced to go back, like right after COVID hit. I know one devotee, Paramananda Prabhu, had to leave and went back. One other Prabhu, I forget his name now. He also lost his job and he went back to India. Right? So these are external factors, but there is an internal purpose. So Lord wants the devotee to come back quickly to Him. So He will put all these different impediments in the devotee's material progress. Spiritual progress, He may not put impediments. Material progress, He'll put impediments so that the devotee will say, okay, I'm sick and tired of all these material things. Now I'll fully focus on Krishna. So that's by design. The Lord's design, He does these activities. And then, he says, Lord is not directly attached to creation maintenance. Although the Lord is doing it, He's not attached to it. It's not like, oh, I will, maintain Nagaprabhu, but I will not maintain Sarvana. Those things are left to your own individual karma. He doesn't care about those things. He's not directly attached. Why? Because he's eternally busy in enjoyment of transcendental bliss, composed of his internal potencies. So he basically is always enjoying with the gopis in the spiritual world. Those are his internal potencies. They also come from him only. They are just from his internal potency becomes an external potency, or rather is manifested externally. And then there is something called marginal potency, which is you and me. We are called Tatashta Shakti. Antarangaka Shakti is internal potency and Bahirangaka Shakti is external potency. So internal potency, if you are in the Yogamaya internal potency, you are always with God. If you are in Mahamaya, the marginal potency, the external potency, then you are always away from Krishna. And you are the marginal potency. Sometimes, just like an electron can get attracted to this proton or the other proton. So this marginal potency, the jiva, either sometimes gets attracted to Krishna, sometimes get attracted to Maya. And we are like a ping pong ball between these two potencies. So when you are hearing Bhagavad Gita class, when you are doing Kirtan, you are in internal potency. So what you'll do, you are like, yes, Krishna is the supreme, we should all do this. But then after the Kirtan ends, you go home, you again fall into external potency. So you are like a ping pong ball, ting tong, you're going back and forth. Because you are marginal potency, Tatashta Shakti. Tatashta by definition means you get attracted to this or that. But a pure devotee is always in internal potency. Like Prabhupada never considered himself to be in, in relation to Maya. He was always connected to Krishna. He actually said, I never left Krishna. So then here's an example. In a temporary fair, right? We have like Ananda Mela. We do a fair in Redmond every year. So when we do Ananda Mela, there are some policemen who come from the government and they stand outside to supervise if nothing is, going bad, right? And what happens when the fair is over? There is no need for such an officer and he goes home. So for those 3 days Ananda Mela, they'll come, and end of Ananda Mela, they go away. Paramatma is similarly compared to such an officer. Paramatma comes only when the jiva comes into material world. And when the jiva leaves, Paramatma will also leave. So the Paramatma is just temporary there. Prabhupada comes with these very nice examples. So these living entities are undoubtedly parts of the Supreme Lord and qualitatively one with Him. So that's why to understand God, first you have to understand yourself. God thinks just like you because you are a part of Him. You get angry, He gets angry. You get sad, He gets sad. All right? So He has all the feelings that you have plus more. He has additional feelings. So to understand God, you have to understand yourself first. And then he again reinforces, the living beings rest in trance at the time of pralaya. So any thoughts?
Okay, stop.
Okay, so let's go on to the next one. Vadanti tat tattvavidas
Varanti tattvavidas
tattvam yajnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavan iti sabhyate. We saw this verse many times in Bhagavad Gita. Srila Prabhupada, this is from Srimad Bhagavatam, but Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada quotes this many times. And I have also in my classes quoted this many times because this is kind of the basis for the philosophy, right? Because if you see Brahmavadis, they only think everything is Brahman. So they ignore the Paramatma and Bhagwan. The Paramatmavadis or yogis, they say everything is, by doing the practice of yoga, you can realize God in your heart. That is the basis for yoga. And then Bhagwan Vadis or Bhaktas say, oh, everything, God is a person. He's eating laddu, he's stealing butter, he's playing with the monkeys. But all three are correct. That's what the meaning of this verse is. Learned transcendentalists, not everybody, but learned transcendentalists who know the absolute truth say that it is non-dual knowledge is called impersonal Brahman, the localized Paramatma and personality of Godhead. Right? So it is never just Brahman or Paramatma or personality. It's all three. Okay, Sarvana, please read this.
Hare Krishna, purport. This Sanskrit verse appears as the 11th verse of the first canto, second chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, where Shuta Goswami answers the questions of the sages, headed by Shaunaka Rishi, concerning the essence of all scriptural instructions. Tattva Vidaha refers to persons who have knowledge of the absolute truth. They can certainly understand knowledge without duality because they are on the spiritual platform. The absolute truth is known sometimes as Brahman, sometimes as Paramatma, and sometimes as Bhagavan. Persons who are in knowledge of the truth know that one who tries to approach the absolute simply by mental speculation will ultimately realize the impersonal Brahman, and one who tries to approach the absolute through yoga practice will be able to realize Paramatma. but one who has complete knowledge and spiritual understanding realizes the spiritual form of Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead. Devotees of the personality of Godhead know that Sri Krishna, the son of King of Vraja, is the absolute truth. They do not discriminate between Sri Krishna's name, form, qualities, and pastimes. One who wants to separate the Lord's absolute name, form, and qualities from the Lord himself must be understood to be lacking in absolute knowledge. A pure devotee knows that when he chants the transcendental name Krishna, Sri Krishna is present as transcendental sound. He therefore chants with full respect and veneration. When he sees the forms of Sri Krishna, he does not see anything different from the Lord. If one sees otherwise, he must be considered untrained in absolute knowledge. This lack of absolute knowledge is called Maya. One who is not Krishna conscious is ruled by the spell of Maya under the control of a duality in knowledge. In the absolute, all manifestations of the Supreme Lord are non dual, just as the multifarious forms of Vishnu, the controller of Maya, are non dual. Empiric philosophers who pursue the impersonal Brahman accept only the knowledge that the personality of the living entity is not different from the personality of the Supreme Lord. And mystic yogis who try to locate the Paramatma accept only the knowledge that the pure soul is not different from the super soul. The absolute conception of a pure devotee, however, includes all others. A devotee does not see anything except in its relationship with Krishna, and therefore his realization is the most perfect of all.
Yeah. So devotee sees everything in connection with Krishna. And the absolute conception of the pure devotee includes all others. So if you once you understand Krishna to the extent that it is possible, then the subsets, the Paramatma and the Brahman are subsets. So they are already there, included in the Bhagavan concept, right? So if you look at this, previously we drew this graphically, right? So it is not like this. How it is for a devotee, the Brahman, the Paramatma is included in the Bhagwan. So it's like this. This is the right thing. Right? So the Brahman and Paramatma concepts are included in the overall Bhagwan concept. So this is the true understanding. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is again exhibiting the same three features. Right? So if you are under Maya, it's a lack of absolute knowledge. It's a relative knowledge. And then you will be in the material world. So when we say Krishna, dancing on our tongue is Lord Krishna as transcendental sound. So if you look at it, the absolute truth is sometimes Brahman, sometimes Paramatma, sometimes Bhagwan. So by speculation, you will realize Brahman. And through yoga practice, you will realize Paramatma. But one who has complete knowledge realize spiritual form of Bhagwan. So all three are not different. They're ultimately the same, just subsets, right? But then people will fight. Like, who is the famous, in the modern times, year 2020, 2021, who is an example of Brahmavadi? Anybody know? From India. You have seen his name many times.
Jaggi Vasudeva Prabhu.
Jaggi Vasudev is a little, borderline. Ravi Shankar. Sri Ravi Shankar is a Brahmavadi. He doesn't go so much into talking about Krishna. And who is a Paramatmavadi in modern times?
So, Hare Krishna Prabhu. So, you give example for the people in mental speculation who ultimately realize the impersonal Brahman. I just want to know, like, who are those people? Like, do you have any examples, Prabhu? Like,
Yeah, that's what I just said, right? Ravi Shankar, Jaggi Vasudev, these people are all Brahmavadis. They don't really acknowledge Krishna as a person, right? So they will always focus on Brahman, nothing else.
sorry, I missed that one. Can you repeat that, Prabhu? Sorry, Prabhu. I missed that one.
Yeah, so in the modern times, you have Jaggi Vasudev, Ravi Shankar. These are all famous Indian preachers, but their
Okay,
concept
okay.
is only Brahman. They are not into even Paramatma.
Okay.
Yeah. So now, can somebody give me example of Paramatma? The using yoga to realize Paramatma. Hmm?
Yeah, I haven't heard about anyone who has done this yoga practice to realize Paramatma Prabhu of recent.
No. There are there. Have you heard of Baba Ramdev?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but again, Prabhu, I'm not sure like whether he realizes Paramatma, but he just does yoga, right? So in
No.
yoga, the first four are called Hatha Yoga.
No, he will teach yoga for the general audience.
Okay.
But his path is one of seeking Paramatma. That he won't tell you in public.
Okay.
Get the point? That,
Yep.
that he won't tell you in public. That will he only tell to serious students of his.
Okay.
Yeah. But I mean, otherwise, then he's not a yogi, right? If he doesn't want to attain Paramatma, then he's not a yogi. What is he then? Of course, most of the things that he does is not really yoga related. Like you see all these stores, Patanjali stores. It has become a multi-billion-dollar business. End of the day, he's also a businessman, just like Ravi Shankar is. Ravi Shankar charges $2,000 per course. In ISKCON, we don't charge anything, right? You are attending this class. You don't pay anything to anybody. Whereas Ravi Shankar charges for his classes. So there is a lot of commercialization going on. That's because they don't have that full understanding, or they refuse to have that full understanding. Even if somebody brings that to them, they will simply ignore that. Like Ravi Shankar praises Prabhupada, but when somebody says Krishna is a person, he says, yeah, that's fine. But you have to do, pranayama, you have to realize the Brahman. So they only stop at that, right? They don't go deep into it. And they will just, circumvent the topic. They will not really answer your question, even if you ask it. So yeah, we have amongst ourselves so many people. Again, I didn't have this knowledge before, right? I used to think Rajneesh is the same as, Ramanujacharya or something like that. I mean, I had no idea. Only because of Swami Prabhupada's books and his disciples' constant lecturing, I know this knowledge. Otherwise, I didn't know this knowledge before. So we should thank Swami Prabhupada for this knowledge. Otherwise, you'll think everything is the same. Like most people think, right, all Hinduism is the same. How is it all the same? Brahmavadis are different, Paramatmavadis are different, and Bhagavanvadis are different. So
Yeah, but most of
Bhagavanvadis,
them, Prabhu,
yeah.
so most of them in India, Prabhu, they orient or steer us towards Mayavadi because they ultimately say everyone is God. So that's their philosophy.
Yeah. Most people will steer, they don't even know Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan. They say everybody is one, which is Mayavad. So that is unfortunate state. But if you gradually give them little clarity, they will understand. Like this time I went to India, I gave a session on the International Vedic Society class. It's called Rishi Vatika, based out of Tumkur in outside of Bangalore. So I gave a lecture there, and after that, some people said, yeah, your lecture was very good. Now we have a clear clarity. One of the women said, okay, I will chant Hare Krishna. Right? Then he came to my home. I gave him some beads. So there's always one person who is interested. Most people are, as you rightly said, Mayavadi, because they have no conception of what is what. Everything is one. How can everything be one? Is biology and physics the same subject? Are Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos the same person? No. But when it comes to scriptures and spirituality, they say everything is one. That is foolishness and stubbornness, actually, more than foolishness. They want to be stubborn, even if somebody is giving the knowledge, right? They want to fight back. That is, you cannot help them really, unless they, eat Krishna Prasadam and associate with devotees, and slowly their mind will change. On Friday evening class, in 2019, one person used to come to my class. He used to listen patiently, and in the end, he used to say everything is one. And then you had that crazy Mike, the white guy, very well built. He would also come to my class in 2018, early 2019, and he would say, "Thank you very much, Krishna." He was calling me Krishna, right? Which means he's very confused. He thinks everybody is Krishna. He follows partly Amma's teaching and partly Ravi Shankar's teaching. So he has got Mayavad and Brahmavad mixed together. So there are so many confused people. To get to the real thing, right? You have to be really blessed by the Lord to understand the real thing. Otherwise, there are so many cheaters and you get cheated. Everybody will add their own masala, and in the end, you will get confused. Right? To come to the right conclusion is very, very, very rare. And if you came to the right conclusion, then you should teach other people also. So this is it. These last two verses give you the complete conception of philosophy. And if you know this, you pretty much know everything. Srimad Bhagavatam says this, Chaitanya Charitamrita says this, and even more advanced texts say this. The three aspects of God. Right? So then I did one time, right? Like maybe 6 months ago, I did a PowerPoint on where various religions are. Like Islam is a Brahmavadi type religion. Christianity is somewhat like personal God, but they don't know who personal God is. They'll just say Father in heaven, and then they say Jesus is God. So essentially, they have made Jesus equivalent to God, which is what? Which is Mayavadi again. Yes? If one person is the same as the other means what? That is Mayavadi. A Jiva Tattva is equated to God. That is Mayavadi. So you have Sikhism is a Brahmavad. They say God is everywhere. Okay. So they're not really very advanced. There's so many religions which are, around the yoga thing, which is Paramatmavad. And many of them are quite honestly atheistic. They call themselves religion, but they're actually atheism wearing the dress of religion. Okay, any questions? Okay, that would be the class. And now let's just chant. Sarvana, you can drop off. You are in Central Time.